All right, on this Easter holiday episode of the LPDS, we get into some world current events that absolutely need to be discussed. Very briefly, though. We talk very briefly about the Yankees, and then we expose a truth that I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to right now. We expose the truth about an organization in the Junction. All that plus a Cage fact coming up right now. All right, Jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to the Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti, the show that talks about nothing but tries to find the lessons in everything, and we have a good time doing it. At least I do. Hope everybody had a good week. Mine was jam-packed with stuff that needed to get done as usual, but it was very productive. No complaints. Had some solid workouts. Didn't have very many bouts of bad allergies, so that was also good. I had a great discussion in my relatives' authors club up in Austin. The previous week, we mentioned that in the previous episode, but because of recording timelines of the LPDS, and when I was doing that, obviously it was, there was a delay. So I finished that. It went very well. Maybe I have some clips from there was a Zoom call for other people who couldn't make it in person, so maybe there'll be some good clips in there I can post on the internet for you guys. But it's just been a lot of moving and shaking the past week, and then of course this week is Easter's, and I will also be in Austin seeing some cousins up there again because it's close by. I'm not going to fly home for Easter's. We don't get time off like we did in school for Easter. You got to work Sunday, and I'm saving my days off to do other things with them. And Easter will be fine without me. It usually is over there in the motherland. So I spent it in Austin. If there's anything super crazy or significant to talk about, I'll update you later on, in a couple weeks. But I hope everybody enjoyed. If you celebrate Easter's, I hope everyone enjoyed your Easter holiday. If you celebrate Passover, I believe that's also going on. Or if it's not done already, I haven't verified the timeline on Passover, but I hope you enjoyed your Passover holiday. That's a little tougher to enjoy. There are sacrifices to be made during that week, or the 2 weeks or whatever, so I get it. But we don't discriminate here in the LPDS. If you're celebrating a holiday this month, happy holiday, whatever it is. Unless it's like, some satanic ritual or some weird shit like that, so to speak. So, anyway, trying to think what else is going on in the world, the LPDS universe that's pertinent for everybody. Yankees still kind of stink. They're like slightly above average in their record. I think they would be like 12-7, 12-8, something like that. I don't know. Their starting pitching is basically garbage with the exception of Max Fried. He's doing well so far. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt. But like the ERAs for every other starting pitcher in the Yankees rotation is above 5. Well above 5. I think one of them has got like a 12 ERA. So I think I saw Trevor Bauer, who was a major league pitcher. He got to like a doo-doo with this gal who he had like aggressive, rough relations with consensually, and then she flipped it and tried to sue him for assault, and he got basically kicked out of MLB for it. And come to find out that she lied about the whole thing. She was setting him up. She set it all up to try to entrap him for money or whatever it was. and they still won't let him back in the MLB. He's got a lot of other. He's a unique individual in his own right. He's got a lot of other uh, issues that people don't like about him. And Rob Manfred, the MLB commissioner, who is a sleazeball himself, hates him. So whatever he's going to try to do to blacklist Trevor Bauer from pitching in the major leagues again, that's what he's going to try to do. So somebody posted the stats of the Yankees pitching stats this so far, their ERAs and stuff so far this season. And Trevor Bauer made a joke like, "Oh, these are pretty good stats," and it's funny to me because he's been kind of chirping the MLB. He tweeted towards the Yankees in the offseason like, "Hey, you can sign me for the league minimum. I won a Cy Young award. You'd be saving money and have a better pitcher in your rotation immediately because Garrett Cole's hurt and they have Max Fried and they have nobody else. Everybody else is a wild card. I even saw Carlos Rodon pitching recently against the Rays, who are not great right now, and he pitched like 100 pitches in 5 innings because he's not consistent, and basically every batter he had, almost every batter, I'd say every other batter, he had a wild pitch thrown to the backstop of the stadium. He's just so inconsistent. He still had a lot of strikeouts. It was crazy. He had 9 strikeouts in like 5 innings or 6 innings. But every other pitch was like, oh, this could take out a fan in the stands. It could take out a poor kid just trying to get a hot dog. I just don't understand it, how he's that wildly inconsistent. Like that, both ends of the spectrum. Either he's hitting the perfect strike or he's aiming for the third base coach. It's crazy. Anyway, so Trevor Bauer was continuing to stir the pot on Twitter by making a joke about how bad the stats are of the pitchers of the Yankees, of a team that he basically was willing to work for peanuts. I don't want to say work for free because the league minimum for the MLB is, I think it's still $500,000 or something like that. It's a nice chunk of change. Don't get me wrong, but they don't want anything to do with him. I'm pretty confident that the commissioner told all the owners and the general managers, like, don't sign this guy or you're done, or I'll take it out on you. I think there's shenanigans afoot for sure. There's no other reason to not sign him to some team. The Chicago White Sox are the worst team in the history of Major League Baseball, and they're not willing to sign him. Something's fishy about that. Anyway, it was funny. Yanks stink. Jazz Chisholm, by the way, these are for all the people that were bitching about the torpedo bats and this and that, and it's cheating, and it's just another way for the Yankees to cheat and be better, and blah blah blah. Jazz Chisholm, the guy who had the most egregious looking torpedo bat when they first showed it, is batting 170. Okay? Now, sure, when he actually puts the bat on the ball, it might be a home run. I think he has like 6 or 7 home runs, which is pretty good for the first month of baseball for somebody like him, especially. But that's it. He's actually batting worse than he did last season. Just once again, proving that the LPDS was correct, that you can't out device stinky hitting. There is no magic elixir. There's no new bat technology, new batting glove technology, new helmet technology. There's no new gear, device, gizmo doodad that's going to make you a better hitter. It's just called practice and adjusting and trying to improve and going to and striving to reach your athletic ceiling. And it's almost like these guys are just doing everything they can to avoid actually having to try. So that's what you get. You get Jazz Chisholm, who I like, batting 170 because he's trying to hit a home run every single pitch, no matter what the situation is, what the count is. Recently, I watched him. There was a runner on second and third with 2 outs. Base hit brings in 2 runs. And he's swinging for the fences on 0-1. And of course, he roll over Randy's it and gets a third out. At least he put the bat on the ball that time. And luckily, the Yankees won. I'll say that. At the end of the game, it didn't matter because the Yankees won 1-0. But that's just guilty knowledge looking like you could say the same thing if the Yankees lost and be like, man, we could have used those 2 runs. The Yankees actually would have won that game if they had those 2 runs. So you can hindsight both ways here. And that stuff's going to catch up to them in the playoffs, just like it did last year when they couldn't get runners in against the Dodgers, and then their fundamentals were just non-existent in the field, and that's that. So that's what just gets me angry about the team is they do have the potential to be great again, but their coaching and their leadership is like actively choosing to go against it for the sake of saving money and making more profits, it seems like. And it's real sleazy. Anyway, happy Easter, everybody. Very quick before we get into the good stuff, we just gotta really quickly talk about this fake space flight that Bezos put up. The Blue Heron, is it Blue Heron? I forgot what it's called. Not Blue Heron. It can't be. I don't know. The spaceship with all the ladies on it that supposedly went up into space. I don't buy it for a second. And it has nothing to do with the fact that it was just the ladies up there. There are lady astronauts who do incredible things. Now, there's still going to be people who argue that those are fake too, that NASA fakes space flight as well. But that's a different conversation that we don't need to have right now. But I have no problem with this. Has nothing to do with the fact that they're ladies. It has everything to do with the fact that there were shenanigans afoot. Absolute shenanigans. And I don't necessarily know if it was a real like fake flight. Like they faked the entire thing. I believe that they went up in the air in the sky. I believe that much. Getting out of the atmosphere into actual technical space? No, I don't believe that whatsoever. Not a chance. There's not, in my mind, in my pea-brain mind, there's not a chance in hell that happened. Because if so, they would be making a bigger deal about the fact that, like, they went into space without the need for the helmets and the stuff that basically every other astronaut wears, breaking the space barrier, breaking into actual space. Now, you could go back to the footage because people are going to argue this too. You could go back to the footage of when Bezos did this originally, back with William Shatner and that crew, like the super rich guys who paid for it, and then Shatner and Bezos went up and did it. I guarantee you there's shenanigans afoot with that. We just didn't think about it as much back then. I forgot when that was, when they actually did that a few years ago. But they went up and they probably did one of those like hyperbolic flight patterns. Is that parabolic flight pattern? Hyperbolic is hyperbole. That's not it at all. Parabolic flight patterns where you get into those temporary states of zero gravity to kind of float a little bit. Maybe they did that. I don't know, because you see footage of female astronauts in space at the space station, and they have hair and stuff floating around, and these idiots didn't have anything floating anywhere. They had all these dolls and trinkets and stuff, but nothing was floating anywhere with them. They were kind of gliding around, but their hair, unless they must have all sprayed their hair with serious gel and product to keep that stiff down and not moving at all. Or maybe that's with their helmets to look like hair. Like sometimes like motorcycle riders buy funny helmets to make it look like they have like a mohawk and stuff like that. Maybe that's what they did. And here's the big thing. People wouldn't be talking about this at all. They wouldn't be talking about it at all if what's her name? Gail King, that blabbermouth, and that windbag Katy Perry just shut up. If they didn't make it, if they didn't turn this into a whole thing, calling themselves astronauts. Like, did you fly in space? I don't think so. Gail King's all pissed at people calling her out and trolling her on the internet. Well, where have you been the last 25 years? It's the internet. You could cure cancer and there's still going to be someone trolling you. And you're just going to read it and take it to heart and get mad? I don't think people should just be calling it it wasn't a ride. It was a space flight. We're astronauts. I don't see you going up in space. I don't see you going either, bitch. I mean, what are we talking about here? Sorry, T, I know, family show. But what the hell are we talking about? If you guys just shut up and didn't turn this into a dramatic thing, Katy Perry is holding the flower when she comes out, and then she kisses the earth and says she feels so connected to love. What are you talking about, dude? There's the other like conspiracy going on, or the other theory that Jeff Bezos' girlfriend or wife or whatever she is now, because she's got fake tits and fake lips and surgeries and stuff, that should have exploded when it crossed into space, and that didn't happen. So there's that. But again, nobody would have cared. Just like nobody cared about the shenanigan malarkey space flight that William Shatner did. Actually, they got lucky probably, because if you remember that, William Shatner was about to make this wildly profound statement about his experience in space, which would have probably shined the light on him on their flight too, in the same regard as like, this is fake, this is garbage. But then luckily for him and for that flight, Bezos was so uninterested. All he cared about was getting champagne and shooting the champagne for the camera, and it shut the whole thing down. And he probably inadvertently, dodged a bullet because of it. Otherwise, we would have been calling bullshit on their stupid flight too. Not to mention the more than obvious CGI imagery of the takeoff and landing of this freaking thing. I mean, it looked like a computer game that I would play in the early 2000s. It was so obviously not real. Those images, that footage. That was what was the craziest to me. That they showed that and were like, yeah, this is happening right now. Like, that's clearly not. That's clearly a computer. Just like everybody called out India when they put out that Windows 2000 version of their landing on the moon with their spacecraft, with their remotely piloted spacecraft, and it was obviously computer created. That's what this was. It was crazy how they thought they could get away with that. Why wouldn't they just show the real footage of it taking off and landing? That stuff's crazy to me. And I know there's going to be people rolling their eyes when they listen to this. Hey, he's going nuts again. Guy believes every conspiracy. When I see something that I believe to be bullshit, I'm just going to call it for what I see it as. And I could be wrong. Sure. I'm open. That's the thing. I'm open to the idea. I'm just taking in all information. I believe that people who are hardcore conspiracy side refuse to believe that it's not a conspiracy. They're so hard up in their belief that there has to be something going on here. It can't just be the simplest truth that we're being told. There has to be something else. And I also don't like the idea of the other way. It has to be the simplest answer. Why would they lie to us? They're incompetent. They can pull this stuff off anyway. Why do you have to believe? I'm just open to it all. There's a very real chance that this actually happened. If so, I would like to see more evidence. There's a very real chance that it was fake. If so, I would like to see more evidence. It's very up in the air. But what I've seen so far, based on what is out there so far, I am trending toward this is bullshit. Something about this is bullshit. It just doesn't line up with science or anything like that. Was there an actual astronaut on the craft with them? Like they talk about Gail King and Bezos' girl and Katy Perry. Who were the other women? Were they actually like trained space professionals? I don't know anything about them. Because that would make it weird too. You're just sending these people up into space. They don't have actual training. What if something went wrong with the spacecraft and they have to control and fix it to get it down? Who was the professional to be able to do that? Hopefully one of these other ladies that I don't know who they were. But I believe that they were all just celebrities of some sort. I don't remember. They didn't mention anything about that. And then this is like one of the only spacecrafts where the door opens inside the craft and not outside, which once again goes against all of my basic, like, dumb guy understanding of physics and pressurization and stuff like that. Just seems a little fishy. We have U-2 pilots. The U-2 is a intelligence aircraft in the military. We've had it for decades. There was a famous crash that happened back in like the 60s or something, I want to say. That the guy was like captured or whatever for a while. The U-2 aircraft goes, I don't know, upwards of like 60,000 feet, I want to say. Something like that. And it's still technically like it's not in space. It didn't escape the entire atmosphere. It might have escaped some layers. I don't know. I don't know what 60,000 feet is. But it doesn't make it to like up into outer space. And the pilots and the crew of that aircraft wear full spacesuits with helmets and oxygen. And these people didn't have any of that. Their space uniforms were bell-bottom jumpsuits. The whole thing, they made a mockery of it. And then again, you look at the footage of the landing of this stupid thing, and like one image has it landing in the middle of the dirt with brush and bushes around it, and then it cuts and zooms in, or zoom. I forgot what the cut was. And then there's these bushes that appear out of nowhere right under where it actually lands. Like, scenery is disappearing and reappearing in the video. Almost as if it was computer generated. Now, once again, two things I want to make very clear here. Number one, I am open to the idea that this was a legitimate space flight. And it actually happened, and they can explain all these questions we have. But until they do, I'm trending towards there's some sort of bullshit here. Number two thing I want to reiterate once again is none of this would have been a big deal. Nobody would be talking about it at all if these stupid idiots just kept their mouths shut. And I don't like calling names, and I'm trying to be better about following number two of the big three. But I feel like we're having fun here, joking about this, making a mockery of this. All a good, clean fun, right? Because this is malarkey. This is silly. To start comparing yourself to fellow astronauts, that's insulting to astronauts. That's insulting to real astronauts. It's insulting to the U-2 pilots who have to be like specially trained to do this stuff because they're in the upper atmosphere. And I'm sure the real ones don't care. They're probably like, let these stupid idiots have their fun. But none of this would have been a big deal if they just stopped. Like, Katy Perry, what are you doing? This is the same lady who who has an activist dramatic like video clip every month. She's bitching and moaning about some activist thing that she cares about in this country: world hunger, the homelessness, protecting illegal aliens, this and that. And she doesn't contribute an ounce of anything positive to any of those efforts, but she'll piss away hundreds of thousands of dollars to get onto this flight that also, mind you, absolutely destroys the environment with the jet fuel it uses, the engine fuel and the rocketry and all that stuff. Doesn't give a shit about the environment now, so she could go up into fake space and then kiss the dirt, the jet fuel filled dirt. Like, what the hell are we talking about here? This is why people are making fun. It has nothing to do with the women thing. Gayle King is crying like, if a man did it, you wouldn't be bitching. Yeah, we would. Okay? The only reason why we're not bitching about the William Shatner thing, which people were still bitching about, is because Bezos accidentally covered his ass for him. Because Shatner would have ruined it for the team as well. It has done. If 6 celebrity dudes did the same exact thing as these women, it would have been the same for me. I would have called all the bullshit I think I see now, and would have told you to stop making a big deal out of it. You're not real astronauts. There's not even actual proof that you went into real space, visually or scientifically. It has nothing to do with the fact that you're women. It has everything to do with the fact that you're stupid. You're acting stupid. I'll say this. I don't know if you're stupid in real life. Maybe you're smart. I don't know. You're acting stupid by over-dramatizing this and trying to pretend like you're part of this elite. You're part of the elite rich. That's what you are. You are rich enough and famous enough that you could pay to have this done. That's the elite class that you're part of. And you don't have to have any actual skills to get there. And that's been proven time and time and time again. So, congratulations on your flight, ladies. Stupid. Honestly, it's just, the whole thing is stupid. I don't really care that much. I think it's funny, and that's why I want to talk about it. But the tinfoil hat has always overtakes the story. Like, if there's an ounce of fun tinfoil hat conspiracy talk to be had on the LPDS, I'm going to explore that because it's fun for me. It's entertaining for me to explore that. So they opened the door. Literally, they opened the door by accident by opening the hatch when they weren't supposed to, and then talking about it, making a big deal about it. I feel so connected to love. Shut up. Shut up. Please. God, I wish William Shatner would have gotten a chance to say what he had to say, because he would have been absolutely brutalized as well. Anyway, let's get into the good stuff, folks. We got a wild episode this week, so let's get into it, and we'll step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right, today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by the Trunk Bat by Anthony Rigatoni's company, Sayreville Slugger. Are you a Major League Baseball player who stinks at hitting but refuses to do anything to improve their skills and technique and only cares about swinging for the fences? Then get yourself a custom Trunk Bat today. The Trunk Bat is the all-new technology from Sayreville Slugger that is now 12 inches longer and 6 inches in diameter wider than any other bat, making it impossible for a pitcher to get the ball past you. Now, there's no way you'll miss a pitch, no matter how shitty you are at hitting, nor how much you refuse to improve yourself. Even Joey Gallo, famed MLB pro who was so bad at hitting, the worst team in the history of the MLB released him so they wouldn't have to be associated with his record-breaking strikeout rate, has gotten a Trunk Bat. So, to finally mask your batting wretchedness and trick people into thinking you're good at baseball, Get yourself a trunk bat today by visiting www.stumpbuster.com. And if you use the promo code I stink, you'll get 29% off. What other technology are they going to come up with next to anything to not have to admit that the players we sign on our team just plain stink? Can't wait to see what new technology they come up with. And guess what? Tony Rigatoni, once again, is going to be at the forefront of this before it gets banned by baseball. He's the first person to give out steroids, too. Anyway, the Cage fact. This is a fun one for me. It's not really specifically about Nic Cage, but it's Nic Cage world, and it's also baseball world. Now, there's a guy out there. He's a pitcher for the Phillies now, I believe, still. Matt Strom. I think it's pronounced Strom, not Stram. It's Strahm as in Mancy. Matt Strom. He looks like Nic Cage with long hair. In fact, he looks like Con Air Nic Cage, Cameron Poe, because of the long hair. And he's been compared to Nic Cage for a while now because of his face looks just like it. It's a spitting image. It's very funny. He's always leaned into it. Well, now he's leaned into it even more because his glove this year that he pitches with, or one of all the pros have a bunch of different gloves these days, which is awesome. I would kill, I love that. I wish I had more than one glove. Anyway, one of his gloves that he uses to pitch is not engraved, but on the leather, the design on it is the Declaration of Independence. And then the sewn-in emblem is a little torch being held by the hand of the Statue of Liberty to pay homage or homage, still will never figure out which one to use, to Nic Cage and the fact that he's always getting compared to Nic Cage. And for those of you who have lived in a bunker for the last 2 decades, that's significant to Cage because he was the star national treasure where he stole the Declaration of Independence. I really shouldn't have to explain that to people, but there always could be a new listener tuning in for the first time ever who knows nothing about Nic Cage, and we want to make sure that they know the right stuff about Cage. So we're always going to over-explain some stuff in the Cage realm for the new fans. I think that's awesome, by the way. The glove, leaning into it. It's always sad when you see a celebrity of any sort, a famous athlete, an actor, a performance artist, whatever, singer, when you see them get butthurt about comparisons to other people like that. Or like Gayle King getting butthurt when people said she's not a real astronaut. I like when people lean into it. Now, Matt Strom could have got pissed. There, obviously, if you don't think Nic Cage is a good-looking fella, you can argue like, oh, you're saying I'm ugly? I would never do that. I think that's crazy. But that happens with people. If when people say, oh, you look like Gru from Despicable Me, just skinny, cool. But if you look at they just compare me to a cartoon character. I used to be called Toucan Sam when I was a kid sometimes. That didn't stick because there was a couple of kids with slightly bigger toucans than me that took the cake on that one, thankfully. But Shark Nose, got that. If you let it get to you, that's how the stuff sticks. If you get mad about it, now forever, when that idiot Gayle King, I keep calling names. You got to follow the big three, Libretti. When Gayle King gets on TV, she better, as soon as she mentions the word space or astro or nut or anything that reminds people of that, they're going to start calling her out for being a fake astronaut. They just are, because she got angry about it. She revealed that it bothers her, and that's what the bullies and the trolls dig their heels into. That's when they smell blood in the water. And Matt Strom decided, nah, I'm leaning into this. This is great. And the guy's probably going to meet Nic Cage because of it, which now makes me jealous. I'm happy for him, but I'm still jealous that, like, man, like, I would kill to be as good of an athlete as this guy because his skill has gotten to a point where now he can meet a hero, a hero of his. It better be a hero of his too, but it's certainly a hero of mine. So it's just taken me a little longer to reach that pinnacle in my capabilities. I'll get there. I'll meet my hero eventually. But very cool. He's probably there's a good chance now because he's leaning so hard into it. Man, what if he's going to show up and dress like him one day? I bet, and that's going to add more. And then eventually, Nic Cage is going to go to a Phillies game. It's in Philly. They did a lot of the National Treasure movies in Philly. That's where he got the spectacles, ocular device from the building in the brick. Come on, National Treasure. Pay attention. So tremendous move by him. I don't know if it was his idea or somebody said, "Hey, lean into us." Whatever it was, great idea, great move. I'm here for it. I'm looking forward to more updates of Matt Strom becoming Nic Cage Jr. So there you go. That's the Cage fact. Move on over to the Junction. We'll spin the logo up. I want to talk to you guys about a little performing arts team called Shen Yun. Now, some of you may not know what I'm talking about right off the bat. But if you look them up, you'll instantly recognize it. This is the performing arts troupe, if you will, company, syndicate, I don't know what you want to call them, that goes around for 6 months out of the year, touring like 150 cities nationwide. I know you've seen them because when they start touring, their billboards are everywhere across the country. You get email updates. Their ads are on every website you go to. They have pamphlets that show up in your mail every single day. Everywhere you go, Shen Yun is right there following you. So think about that. In fact, I've seen videos online about people making jokes about it. Like a guy gets the Shen Yun brochure in his, like the little card, the ad card in his mail, and he throws it in the garbage, and he turns around and it shows up on the kitchen counter. It just keeps showing up. It's all over the place. They flood you with their marketing and ads when Shen Yun is going on the road. In fact, I have to give credit to my brother Bonji here. He turned me on to this story, and when we were listening to a podcast about this, it was like an interview about a journalist who was exploring this company. We drive on the highway in Atlanta, and there's a billboard for it right there as we're hearing about it. So if you look it up, just Google image search Shen Yun, Shen space Yun, and you'll see the images of their pamphlet. It's the lady, like the ballerina or ballet dancer doing a thing. It's like purple and gold and stuff like that. I know you've seen it. Okay. Now, once again, I got to give credit to my brother Bonji for bringing this story to light to me, and credit to the people, the journalists who have been investigating this. I can't take credit for unveiling this truth here. But we need to further. The LPDS has a responsibility, a journalistic responsibility, to continue to expose the truth when it comes to bad organizations. Okay? And this one is certainly a bad organization. All right? Now, we're going to do a quick historical lesson here, history of how Shen Yun came to be. All right? And while we're doing that, we're going to pepper in the truths to what the hell is going on with this organization. All right. This whole thing started years back. I don't even, maybe 2006, I want to say. It started. Let's look it up real quick. 2006 is when it was founded, when Shen was founded. Okay. This was founded by a Chinese, I guess you can call him a Chinese immigrant. Okay. His name is Li Hongzi. We're just gonna call him Lee, Li. I believe it's still pronounced Lee, not Lie. I believe it's Lee. Now, before that, Lee was in China. I want to say in the 90s. He was very anti-Chinese Communist Party, Chinese Communist dictatorship, and so he created his own religion called Falun Gong. Falun space Gong, FG. Created this religion against the Chinese Communist Party. Okay? And he got a lot of followers. He's got a lot of people uprising in this following against the poor treatment and conditions of the people under this communist dictatorship regime. And of course, when you go against the Chinese Communist Party like that, what happens? They come after you. They still do. It's 2025 and they're still coming after. How about the billionaire, the Chinese billionaire, a couple years ago, who said something like mildly anti-China, and then he disappeared for like 2 months, and he shows up and he's like, "Hey, I'm okay. I love China." Like, they pull this shit all the time. So anyway, this guy was getting big. He was getting loud. And I forgot who was it. Mao Zedong was in charge of China at the time. I don't remember who. That could be an ancient Chinese leader. I don't know enough about it. So I could have butchered that. But he got a little loud and they started coming after him. So Lee snagged a bunch of his followers and got the hell out of China and came over to New York, the Big Apple. In fact, he settled in New York State. Okay? From there, he started building out Falun Gong even more in the States. Anti-China, anti-Chinese Communist Party, bringing all these people together to join in, especially if these are Chinese Americans in America. They probably have a problem with China if they're coming out here. So it's a lot easier for them to get on board with this anti-dictatorship kind of religion. All right? He even starts a newspaper, periodical, that was basically mostly anti-Chinese communist propaganda. Okay? Some of you might know this Chinese periodical. I don't want to call it a Chinese periodical. Some of you might know this newspaper as the Epoch Times. I don't know if that's pronounced right. Epoch Times, EPOCH Times. Because in recent years, it has been commonly adopted by the super hardcore conservative side of this country, of America. Because the media is riddled with super lefty newspapers these days. Their answer to that was the Epoch Times, Epic Times. I don't know how it's pronounced. I'm going to say Epic because it sounds a little bit better. Epoch sounds like I'm really butchering it, but who knows? I know people personally who subscribe to the Epic Times and get the hard newspaper delivered to them once a week or whatever it is. And now it's much more mainstream now, and it's much more American news inclusive, if you will. But it's right up the alley of that side of the fence, that side of the spectrum. Anti-China, pro super right ideals, whatever. But what's very funny to me is that it's the exact thing that that hardcore side of the spectrum hates, the Chinese infiltration of stuff. What do they say all the time? Oh, they've been compromised by China. They've been compromised by these guys. And then the paper that they're holding as their news Bible is literally created by this Chinese guy. Okay? So Lee created the Epic Times to push out his propaganda to get more following and to fund his religion. All right? So he's got that going for him. Very funny to me. Then he decided to start Shen Yun to bring even more awareness to the cause, to grow, supposedly to grow the cause and grow the religion, to spread the message that we have to stop China from doing this bad stuff to these people. All well and good, right? Very well intended. Intended. I don't know which one it is. Intention sounds about right. So he starts Shen Yun in 2006. Now, on the surface, it looks like Asian Cirque du Soleil. They have physical performing artists, ballets, dancers, acrobatics, what have yous, but then they also have their own orchestra that plays. And there's a whole story behind the performance. Now, the story is really shining a light to the anti-Chinese sentiment that this guy, this religion starts, that Falun Gong subscribes to. It shows like Chinese police beating up regular citizens for no reason. It's just propaganda. Whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. It's taking one side of it's taking the narrative and it's just extrapolating it in a visual performance. Again, that's an effective playbook maneuver that we do too in America to tear at the heartstrings of people, because you don't sell the idea, you sell the emotion associated with the idea. So if he wants people to understand how bad China is, he can't just say, hey, China is bad. They're illegal. They're a dictatorship. They need to be stopped. We need to change this. People around here in America will be like, I don't care. I'm not in China. That's why I'm not there. I'm here. But if they're beating the women and children and killing people and you can visually see it, that brings the emotional impact to it. It's very effective. It works like a charm on our own people all the time. Look at the news. Literally every national news organization out there, I don't want to say news, media organization, every story of every day has an emotional spin on it. Okay? So, good playbook tactic by old pal Lee here, right? Well, here's where things get interesting. Because recently, over the past few years, Shen Yun performers started coming out, leaving the organization. And what you really come to find out is that they were escaping. Because as you dig deeper, you start to see what's really going on behind the scenes. This is obviously not just a guy with a magnanimous idea about improving China for the people and creating a religion behind it. This was a guy who created a cult and got power hungry, and now it is spilled over into America, and he has a giant cult empire that is just now starting to fall apart at the seams. Okay? Because Lee, our pal Lee, is not this magnanimous leader spreading the word, the good word, and helping out his people and showing them the difference, what a non-communist leader would do. In fact, he is doing the exact same thing. He is claiming he hates about China. He has become a dictator and really a hostage taker because the followers, the performers in Shenyun of the Falun Gong followers, don't get paid a cent for performing. Not a single cent. They don't get paid for anything. Lee provides them food and lodging to live, and that's it. And he makes them practice their musical instruments and their performances every day for the 6 months, and then they have to go out and perform for 6 months. And that's all they're allowed to do. And they get no money. Maybe they get a little stipend here and there, but otherwise they have to go figure out a way to make other income if they want. Okay? They also have no medical services provided to them. And do you want to know why? Because the God that Li Hongzhi created for this religion, Falun Gong, is going to heal them, he said. And if you go to the doctor, it means you don't believe enough. And if you believe enough and you prove it by practicing every day and giving all your extra back to the church, back to the organization, then you will be healed. That's the only way you're going to get healed is if you believe enough. And the only way to show you believe enough is by giving all your worldly possessions, any extra money you have made on the side, anything you have, any inheritance you have, that goes right back to the organization. And the organization, by the way, is Lee and his wife. Okay? Everybody else is just a foot soldier. There's no board. There's no conclave. There's no charity that these monies go to. Okay? The religion, quote unquote, is Lee and his wife. That's where everything goes to. And you start to see people are escaping out of this and telling the story, telling the truth. There was a guy, he was like, he played one of the instruments. I don't know if it was violin or what, but he got hurt and he dislocated his shoulder. And Lee came by and put his hand on his shoulder and said, "You're healed. Now just believe and you'll start to feel it too." Guess what didn't happen to this guy's shoulder? It did not go back into his socket. Okay? It just stayed out of his socket. And whatever your body does to regenerate and regrow around, because your body's constantly healing itself, and when something is amiss, it goes into healing mode. So whatever happened to that guy's shoulder just happened. Who knows if he can even move his shoulder anymore? And what does Lee do? He says, "Oh, well, you didn't believe enough. That's why you didn't get healed. It's not my fault. It's your lack of belief. That's the reason." Another lady didn't make it out. Her family revealed what happened to her. She was having pains on her insides. She was a performer. Pain on her insides. Lee, the same thing. If you believe enough, you will be healed. Well, years go by, and she clearly wasn't believing enough because she was not getting any better. She finally escaped and went to a doctor, and the doctor saw that she had like stage 4 kidney cancer, and then she died. And what do you think the leader of the religion said about that? Well, she clearly didn't believe enough because she's dead. If she believed well enough and she dedicated enough, she would have been healed. But this is what happens when you don't believe. Come to find out, this lady was legit doing everything she could to show she believed. All her inheritance that was supposed to go to her kids, gone. Her kids found out, by accident, by the way, that all her credit cards were maxed out, her money was gone, and it was all going towards designer bags, designer jewelries, all these elite level designer celebrity style things to quote unquote donate to Lee and his wife. And the only way they found out about that is because somebody who is probably not with the organization anymore, if I were to venture a guess, I'd say that person's dead. Somebody accidentally sent this lady's like bank statements and credit card statements to the family because apparently they have control over all that. They have situational awareness of everybody's, all the performers' bank statements and credit card activity. And they accidentally sent it to somebody in the family, and the family saw it and was like, this is where all the money was going, to all these designer handbags and this and that. And they looked throughout the lady's stuff when she died, and she didn't have any of that stuff in her possession. But guess who did? Lee's wife. All of it she still has. But, of course, according to Lee, it's just a strange coincidence that she just happens to have this stuff that the lady bought. Obviously, they make more than one Gucci purse, so whatever. That's how they sloughed that one off. Now, the marketing is basically the money that they get from Shen Yun and Epic Times goes to the marketing for Shen Yun and the food and lodging for the people, which is the bare minimum scraps, and anything related to the show. Everything else goes directly to Lee and his wife. And if he has kids, I don't know. All the profits, everything else goes directly to him. And they have quotas for their shows. If they're not selling enough tickets in a certain city, guess what they do? Lee makes the followers in that city buy the tickets out to make it look like the show sold out. Now, the followers are not necessarily the performers. You don't have to be one of you could be a follower who's not part of the performing team. So they have followers nationwide, and he just tells them, hey, we're doing low numbers in Houston. Buy the tickets. So whatever money you have to buy the tickets if you really believe. If you believe in this religion, you have to buy these tickets. People need to see this show. It needs to look like it's succeeding. So there might be a show there with like 15 people in the audience, but the show must go on. And according to ticket sales, it was another sold out show. So they're technically never lying on their marketing when they say we sell out in 130 cities all over the place, because they're not. They're just buying their own tickets. Lee is making his followers buy the tickets to fill up the seats or to sell out the crowds to make it look like these are wildly successful. And when they're successful in the box office, those cities will have them back next year. So they'll just keep being able to expand out to different cities when they see, like, oh, everybody's going to see Shen Yun. Everyone's going to see Shen Yun. I don't know a single damn person in my entire existence who's actually seen a Shen Yun show. I've seen people review it online, and there's the people like, oh, it was a very good performance, which I imagine it would be. I'm sure these people fear for their lives if they do a poor job in the performance, because they see what happens to somebody if they break their kneecaps in practice, then they're dead. They're practically dead. They're useless. And Lee just gets rid of them, lets them die, and it says they don't believe enough. That's why they died. So I'm sure they put on a good performance, but everybody else always also said, yeah, this story is very anti-Chinese, it's like a propaganda, but beautifully done. But I've never known anybody who's actually gone to one. How are these shows selling? 130 cities nationwide since 2006? That's 19 years from the time that this podcast is coming out. 19 years, and I don't know a single human being in my life that has ever been to one of these shows. That's crazy to me. That right there means something is afoot. There's malarkey afoot, shenanigans afoot. I don't even like feet, and I'm saying that so many times. If somebody has been to a Shen Yun show, please hit the hotline 202-670-1114. But more importantly, what I really care about is anybody who has been a performer in Shen Yun or a prior follower of the Falun Gong cult. Please call the hotline 202-670-1114. I want to hear your story. I'll protect your identity, but we got to get the word out. This guy and his wife, now they're under investigation right now, so one can only hope that they take him out and take him down. But as it stands now, innocent until proven guilty. So until he's proven guilty in the court of law, he is still running the same cult scam, enslaving these people. Now he says, they can leave anytime they want. But what has he done? He's taken control of their financial assets. He provides them zero income. All they can do, some of these people in the up in Deer Park, the ones at the compound anyway, all they can do is play their instrument and dance. That's all they've known. So if they left, they have no shelter, no money, no other skills, no education whatsoever, and nobody on the outside to help them. But technically, they can leave anytime they want. Sounds a little fishy, doesn't it? Sounds a little Scientology, doesn't it? And this guy's living high on the hog with his wife. Like Joel Osteen. Guy's got a private jet. He owns an arena. He owns the old Houston Rockets basketball arena. And he's just collecting tax-free donations from people and tricking them into thinking he's the savior. And he's living high on the hog. Who's that other old guy who tried to blow COVID away? Like on his one of his sermons, he's blowing into his microphone. He's like, "COVID be gone." That old quack. The worst is that they're actually hiding under like otherwise above board official religions. They're hiding under Christianity and they're pulling all this stuff. This guy created his own religion, like L. Ron Hubbard created his own science fiction religion. Literally after the guy said probably the easiest way to become rich is to create your own religion. And then he created a religion based off of aliens and souls going to alien bodies and science fiction stories that he wrote. He's the most published science fiction author in the history of the world. Now, his stories stunk, and some of them were short stories. Most of them were short stories in like magazines and stuff. But all he did was create science fiction, and then he creates Scientology, and that's real. The other stuff was fake. This is real. And don't pay attention to when I said the best way to scam people and become rich is to create your own religion. Pay no attention to that. That's what this guy's doing. This guy created his own religion to get the power and the money, and he's literally treating his people almost worse than the Chinese government, because the Chinese Communist Party, at least like people have regular jobs that pay an income. It's all, communist based when it comes to that, which is not great. But this guy's he's not getting them shit. He's getting them porridge and a sack full of hay to sleep on. And then he's blaming them for dying. Oh, you died of cancer? You clearly were not dedicated enough to the God, which I 100% made up in my head. Because you didn't believe enough in a fake God that I made up, you're dead. Sorry about it. Sorry you didn't believe enough in a fake God that I created. By the way, my private jet and my wife's Gucci bag, God gave that to us. That wasn't us, laundering money and stealing money from people and forcing our followers to basically just pay us by buying these tickets to make it look like we have a successful, company over here. It's all a scam. The whole thing is a cult scam. The crazy, besides the treatment of the people, which is very crazy, the next craziest thing is that they've had this newspaper, the Epic Times, out for years. And there are millions of Americans out there thinking this is a newspaper by right-wing conservative Americans for right-wing conservative Americans, and this guy has been pulling the wool over their eyes for years. This is just Chinese propaganda. That's literally all it is. And all the stories are just all steeped in propaganda to push a narrative, to influence people to do things to benefit Lee and his cult and make money for his cult. Now, sure, maybe now by 2025, there are some actual news journalists writing for this newspaper, right-wing news journalists, because at the end of the day, the main goal of that newspaper was just to make profits for Lee, is to fund his cult. So they're going to put stuff out there that's going to get popular for a lot of people. So I don't think it's only to seed and push this propaganda, but it's definitely influenced in there still. And it it flies right in the face of what the hardcore right folks are always against. Oh, the media is compromised. It's propaganda. It's malarkey. We need objective media. We're going to go to the Epic Times. And come to find out, it's owned by a cult leader who started the thing to fund his cult. You can't get more infiltrated than that when it comes to media and newspapers and news. You can't, because the point of the newspaper itself was to fund the cult. It didn't start out like most other news organizations way back in the day had a little better intent about them. Most of them, some of them probably were shisty like that, but they were like, we got to get the news out for awareness for people. Some of them were very much like, we need to control the narrative, so we're going to say we're putting out the news so that we can spread awareness, but really we're just getting people under our thumb. That's a thing too. That's what Lee's doing with Epic Times. And that's what he's doing with Shun Yan, because now he's adding music. He's adding the emotions to it. You ever hear there's a book out there? I forgot the name of the book. It's about this guy wrote about how when the news started becoming garbage, essentially. When it started getting away from objective news reporting and started becoming about making profits and pushing agendas. And one of the things that he discusses and he talks about is when the network news agencies started putting intro music in the beginning of their news reports, that's when it all started going downhill, because before it was just guy comes on screen, says this is the 6 o'clock news, here's what's going on today, we landed on the moon, Earth is round, this happened, good night. JFK was assassinated, good night. That was it. And then they put the music in, and it was and you're like, oh shit, something's going on. We got breaking news, folks. And then you hear the guy, and he's like, listen to this, folks. JFK was assassinated, and the moon landing was fake. And everyone's up in arms. Oh my God, what's going on? Breaking news. Now go back right now. Go put on any network news station, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, put it on at the top of an hour or whenever the next show starts. So wait till the end, watch the end of one show and the beginning of the next news program. Watch what it is. It is specifically built to get you thinking we got big breaking news, and everything, every little thing, every single damn thing on the bottom line of these media sites now says, the first thing it says, breaking news. Everything is breaking news. So that's what this guy is doing. He took that playbook that the news organizations have been doing for a long time and that governments do with their people for a long time, and he started adding things like music in. And he started adding visual representations of the propaganda he's trying to push, whether you agree with it or not. I don't think the Chinese Communist Party is good. I don't like the dictatorship they have. I don't like it at all. I think it's ethically and morally reprehensible at the nicest way to describe it. But I also don't believe in propaganda either. I don't like propaganda either. That's what this guy is doing. Anyway, he brings it all in. The storyline audibly relays the message of how bad the Chinese dictatorship is and what he's doing to the people. And the music connects with you internally, with your soul, with your emotions. And then visually with your eyeballs, you see it play out. And when you connect all these senses at the same time, that's when you start to get it ingrained in your brain. Okay? I know this because this is also mindset training for when you're trying to become a better person in general and when you're trying to accomplish goals. This is the best way to train your brain and train yourself to accomplish these goals. You include all the senses. You do things to get all the senses involved to associate with what you're trying to do. So, for instance, if you want to accomplish a specific goal, they say like if to learn something better, you put on like classical music when you're trying to study it. Okay, there's something about classical music, certain types of music that resonate into your body, into your not ear follicles, you dope. Into your eardrum, and the way the pitch and the tone and the way it all works out with certain types of music allows you, like, opens your brain capacity to absorb better. And then you're looking at the information to read it. And they say, write down your goals. Write them down as if you already accomplished them. I'm a millionaire. I became a millionaire. I'm a baseball player. I'm an astronaut, Gail King. I am this. I am that. I did that. I won this tournament. I accomplished this goal. Whatever it is, you write it down, which also brings in the tactile sense, touch into the thing. And then you're looking at it as it's happening. You're seeing it, and then you're visualizing. You're closing your eyes. You're visualizing you hitting the home run, or you striking out that guy in the World Series. And you bring all these things, and you do that stuff every day, and it starts to change the brain chemistry going on in there. It rewires your brain. Okay? We have these roads. We have these circuits, these highways in our brain that affect our thoughts, our opinions, our decisions, everything. And this is rewiring our brain so that our thoughts and our actions all align now with what we're taking in the most. So if you're going after a goal and you do all this stuff, your brain is going to rewire itself to the point where all you're thinking about is different things I can do and say and acquire to get me closer to this goal. And it becomes almost subconscious. That's the whole idea. And that's why Shen Yun exists. That's why he blasts you with visual ads, radio ads, TV ads, and then the performance itself with the music, the visuals, the story, the emotions behind it, with the seeding of the propaganda in there as well. And that's how he builds his following. And with the extended following means more money and power and influence for his cult. Because the reality is there is no God like the one he's talking about. There is no actual being higher up that he's professing. The one he's professing, I'm talking about, that's healing people for just believing and for donating all their money and for being willing slaves essentially to this program. He has enslaved an entire community of human beings here in America, up in Deer Park, New York, for no other reason than for power and money and influence. Because if he really cared about the cause, he wouldn't have run scared from China. He wouldn't have run from the Chinese government. He would have stayed there because the cause needs to happen over there. We can't do anything. The people here, we're not doing anything over there for China, the American people. What are you going to get Katy Perry to be part of the Shen, the Falun Gong organization? She doesn't do shit for any of the things that she says she cares about. Climate change, homelessness, this and that. She doesn't do one actual thing except cry and bitch about it. So what do you expect the people here in America to do for your quote-unquote religious, cause against the Chinese dictatorship? Nothing. If you really care, you'd still be over there risking your life for the good of the cause. But you didn't. You ran like a coward, and you tricked people into coming with you here to America, and now you're tricking and scamming people and enslaving people into this cult, dangerous cult organization, and then you're trying to, again, trick us into thinking, oh, you're just doing this for the cause. And here's a quality performance of highly skilled performers, and when you come to find out, the performers are just slaves that are forced to do this. Otherwise, bad things happen. Unless they're able to escape, bad things happen to them. And if you talk to people in my family, you could talk to my sister, because while we did not say it, I don't remember ever talking about it on the LPDS. I do remember having the thought, maybe I talked about it randomly on an episode, like, hey, what's with all these commercials and ads for this stupid performing thing every Christmas it comes out? Maybe I mentioned it once before, but I definitely had the conversation with my sister a few years ago where I was getting the brochures and the pamphlets and the billboards, and I think it was at like my sister's house, and I saw it in her mail on her counter. And I was like, what is up with this? Why are they shoving this down our throats? What is behind all of this? And we had the conversation then. And we came to the conclusion. We didn't know at the time what was going on. We didn't know. All we knew was like something's fishy about this. Because nobody else absolutely bombs you with this level of marketing for their show. Yeah, they have websites. They'll have some ads. Maybe they're a little bit more subtle with it. I don't know. But these guys hit you with everything they got, overtly, with the ads and the marketing. And we knew then something's not right. We didn't know what it was. I can't take credit for that. And I can't take credit for being the one digging it up. Somebody else went out there and did it. But this story had to be told again. It had to be reiterated for the LPDS universe to understand this and to spread the word. And we need to keep exposing this because the trial's not over. There is a very real chances out there that this guy could get off scot-free in this trial. If evidence wasn't collected appropriately, if a witness dies or disappears, a lot of things can happen in this investigation. But at the very least, if we expose it, we can free these people. Okay? Because right now, he's still got a chokehold on him. He can still force him to stay and scare him to death of leaving and escaping. But if his entire existence is surrounded by a whole country of people who are calling bullshit on this whole thing, he will have there will be too much rallying around to allow this to happen anymore. And we'll be able to free these damn people. I wish we could do that with Scientology right now, but damn, they got a couple of powerful folks back in their corner still right now. Travolta and Cruz and Miscavige and the police that they've corrupted to protect them. Like they got a lot of rich people backing them up. This guy doesn't have that. We have an opportunity to right the ship here with the Shen Yun Falun Gong slaves. And it's just crazy that this whole time we're getting ads. Oh, come check out our dance performance. It's incredible. We are highly skilled ballet dancers and acrobats and musicians. This entire time, we're literally watching slaves being forced to do this. Now, I'm sure it's not the first time that's happened, but it's the first time I'm aware of this happening in my lifetime and being a part of it. So that's all I got to say about that, folks. If I get more information, I'll be sure to spread the knowledge. And if you know anybody who's an escaped Shen Yun performer, please let me know, and they can hit me up anytime. We have to get this out there, and I'm not one bit scared about Lee doing anything to me. I think the guy's a clown, and he needs to be taken down. And that did not mean for that to rhyme, but anyway, that's all I got today, folks. Before we go, very quickly, the big three, which I got to do better at, obviously. The 3 pillars of staying strong and being a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being, and being able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around you throughout the land. Number 1, exercise every day. Do at least one thing each and every day to improve your physical, mental, or emotional health and fitness. Number 2, the hardest one to do, and I broke it here on the show once again. It's very hard to do. Don't be a shitty person. Be a kind person. When the opportunity arises to be negative and shitty towards people, just take the LPDS step back. Try to detach from those emotions and omit yourself from the situation. It's the hardest one to do because you're attached. You're in it. And in the moment, you can't get out of it. You just have to, something that usually ends up being said. I get it. I literally struggle with it every day. But if you're knowledgeable of that, if you acknowledge it and you work towards it, that's the way you're going to get better. If you work towards improving yourself, that's how you're going to get better. Number 3, the most important one, be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. You live in gratitude, you have much less to be negative and shitty about, and then you can focus that time on your fitness. When you do all those 3 things, you'll be a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being. You'll be able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around you and throughout the land. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell your friends and enemies. Put your notifications on. Hit that hotline, 202-670-1114. If you know anybody, if you know any Falun Gong or Shen Yun escapees or anybody who has more information to spread the awareness on this, tell them to hit that hotline, 202-670-1114. Thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.